On Monday's show, I told you I wanted to be encouraging because I'm sure there was going to be things to talk about that were very discouraging the rest of the week. And boy, was I right. Boy, was I right. There were so many different things for me to pick from today. But there is one thing that I thought just stood out because it's one of the core problems that we need to address. And it's the thinking about the economy and business within the church. Welcome to How to Build a Tent. My name is Matt Williams. Thank you for listening to the show, sharing the show, tagging a friend to the show. Really appreciate it. Part of the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Over to flfnetwork.com. Put an HTBT in the memo field and you'll get a sweet mug. You'll get a Fight Laugh Feast shirt. You'll get tons of other great benefits. And I think you still get a discount for the conference. But regardless, if you do or don't, you got to go to the conference October 1st to the 3rd in Nashville, Tennessee. Do not miss it. Come say hello. Now, in the news, it's so funny. I feel like the tale of two cities, but really just two different worlds that we live in. I'm listening to the Cross Politics show. They have this doctor on. I think it was from Stanford. I didn't really catch that. And he's saying there's never going to be a vaccine. We don't have a vaccine for the flu. We don't have a vaccine for a number of these different viruses. We're not going to have a vaccine for this. Sure enough, there are companies now saying by the end of the summer, there's going to be a vaccine. And to me, from my layman perspective, I'm not a medical doctor. I'm not an expert. I don't know anything about drugs and prescriptions and vaccines and all that stuff. And they don't really either. That's a little secret a lot of you don't know, because I didn't know it and I wouldn't have known it unless I knew a lot of doctors and scientists that do drug experiments and develop drugs. Is a majority of them don't know why the drugs do what they do, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. You're putting it in your body and no one knows why your body is reacting the way it does. It just knows it has these tendencies to react in certain ways. Some of them are good and the other ones are side effects. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. So we have people saying there's never going to be a vaccine for, and then we see news where there's going to be a vaccine by summer. Now, to me, there's a difference between vaccine and treatment. There seems to be some really cool stuff going on with RNA versus the DNA and creating different structures in your body that fight off the virus even better than if you just had the antibodies from going through and fighting it naturally, which is really interesting. And it's very cool that God allows us to help and boost our bodies. I always thought it would be great, and this is totally off track, and I don't even know why I'm going down this rabbit hole, but I'm sorry. I like going down rabbit holes sometimes. It keeps it interesting. Imagine where we would be medically in healthcare if we had researchers and doctors that had the perspective that we were created in the image of God by a perfect being that perfectly made us, that saw us and said it was good, opposed to the ideology of death, that we evolved from death, from the strongest surviving, and glorifying the struggle and the death of the weaker, the strong survive. And instead of trying to kill the weaker viruses, the weaker diseases, and let the body live, of having the mindset of what did God create? How did he create it? And how can we enhance the works that God fearfully and wonderfully made? I would love to see a university specialize in that, a medical university or whatever. I don't know what you'd call it, medical school. Is there a term for that? Like business school, medical school? Medical school that would have the foundations of Christianity. I feel like there would be so much more advancements in the medical world because they would be basing their foundation on truth versus the lie that is evolution. But that's neither here nor there. So one of the things also is, hey, we're getting all these new cases of the coronavirus because we're testing a lot of people. That's what happens. When you turn over rocks, you see a lot of what's underneath the rocks, worms and bugs and all that stuff. It's not that they weren't there before. It's just now that you see them, just like these cases of the coronavirus. Deaths are plummeting. Hospitalizations are plateauing.
You know, the correlation I've seen from the data and from what others are saying as well is the correlation is not with opening up the economy, but with immigration. That's right. the correlation of growing cases of the coronavirus is not from economies opening up. It's a little crackly there. But it's from immigration. But I'll leave you with that on that news. So we're having this great new, what do we call this? The percentage of deaths to cases, right? The death rate of this virus is shrinking ever more because the death rate is plummeting, but the cases are increasing. So when you have that equation like that, well, the death rate of the virus goes down and down and down. But instead of opening up, making data-based decisions, Governor Newsom in California decides that we're going to start closing down in a lot of different counties in California. Everything that was open, including churches, are no longer going to be allowed to meet. Hello, pastors. Hello, church. Are you going to, do something? Or are you going to Romans 13 this? I don't know. Well, it will remain to be seen. So I did a little tweet parlor Facebook page post. And I said, it's amazing watching governors destroy their economies for political purposes by shutting them down. So many politicians consumed with hate. Because that's what you have to have. If you're willing to destroy people's careers, to destroy people's wealth, to destroy people's businesses, see, all of these things go directly to people's families, to people's livelihoods, to people's dignity and respect. And you're destroying it all. It's excusable in a sense when it's a new thing. We don't know what it is. The first 2 weeks, okay, drastic, not biblical. You're not biblical anyways, especially in California. Okay, I get it. But even now, with all the data, even from your own university, Stanford, in your state, are saying we need to open up. That the death rate isn't as bad as everyone thought it was going to be. That this virus isn't as bad as everyone makes it seem. And even this late in the game, when there's data, science to support it, you're going to start closing things down because people are getting infected. And it looks like, I don't know specifically in California, but overall populations, that the people that are getting it now are the younger people that don't have the high risk of this virus to do have deadly effects on them, where they would die from it, or some serious effects where they'd be hospitalized. And that's why we're not seeing the skyrocketing in hospital visits, that we're not seeing the death rate increasing back to where it was at its peak, because it's the rest of the population that is getting it, and the younger crowd is getting it as well. But yet, Governor Newsom, to tank the economy, to hurt President Trump, and to make decisions and calculated moves to help the Democrats in the election, which I don't think it's going to, by the way. I don't think that that no matter what spin the media puts on it, no matter what spin the Democrats try to put on two different things, the economy suffering in the states that are run by Democrats, and the cities and the rioting that's happening in the cities that are allowing it, the cities that are defunding the police, that are cutting the budgets, New York, Chicago, the rates of crime that are increasing there, I don't think they're going to be able to put that on the Republicans. I mean, maybe they won't vote for Republicans, but I don't think the motivation, I don't think the turnout's going to be there, because there's no getting around it. Even the common day, everyday man who doesn't pay attention to politics knows that California is run by Democrats, knows Chicago is run by Democrats, knows New York's run by the socialist Marxist Democrat de Blasio. There's no getting around it. So that's what I said on my tweet. And I got a reply from somebody. I'm not going to share who he is. He's identified as a pastor, a layman pastor. I wonder who's calling me. And he said this: you can revive an economy, but you can't revive the dead. And I saw that and went, oh, okay, just some left-wing kook. And then I went and looked at his profile and saw that he was a pastor, a layman's pastor. And I just got so discouraged, guys. I'm not going to lie. The short-sightedness, the worldly focus of this man, this pastor, who's representing the gospel. I am not our gospel, apparently, but he's representing it. He's claiming to. Has such a narrow focus, a worldly focus, a lack of eternal perspective and any significance and relevance whatsoever with this. And he has no idea what he's talking about, has no factual basis. He's just repeating the mantra because he is a liberal idiot. He is a Marxist retard. He is, I'm just going to stop there to respect the office that he claims to hold. You can revive our economy. Oh, you can? Oh, you can? You can revive an economy? When was the last time that we shut down an economy as long as we have? When was the last time that we had 30 million unemployed? When was the last time that we raked up $900 billion in months? Trillions spent on trillions of dollars and bailout packages? When have we ever quarantined the healthy? When have we ever done anything like this ever? But you can revive an economy. I missed that in business school. I missed that in all my economic classes. I missed that in reading all those economic books. I missed the blueprint for reviving a world economy shut down over a virus released by one country that hid all the data, that no one knew what to expect, and where millions of people lost their jobs. 500 million children are estimated to die in the third world countries because of hunger, because of this economy shutdown. But you can revive it. That's what this pastor says. You can revive the economy, but you can't revive the dead. Well, isn't that the gospel? That there will be resurrection someday? Why are we always living in this finite, short-sighted worldview that it's all about our physical lives now? Aren't we supposed to be proclaiming something far greater? Pastor? Preacher? And this is what it comes to. I know we have the problems in government with our politicians that are fools. They don't fear God. We have men that aren't faithful men at home. But in the church, the biggest problem we have is the disqualified pastors who, instead of crucifying their flesh, they're picking up their cross and crucifying they're crucifying their birthright, their spiritual birthright. They're giving it up for a pot of porridge, for a pot of hot stew, or whatever freaking Jacob cooked. I forgot what. They're giving it up in exchange for what the government's going to hand out. Oh, we'll give you a $1,400 check. We'll give you a $2,100 check. Oh, we'll give you unemployment. Oh, we'll give you health benefits. But we'll take your birthright. Pastors are too quick to sacrifice their birthright instead of sacrificing their lives. And a large part of that is they're disqualified. A majority, especially in maybe California, but in the United States, God gives a specific criteria for pastors. And for so long, we brushed it aside. Oh, they're more like guidelines, like in Pirates of the Caribbean, than rules. And we thought we would get away with it. And we thought there would be no consequences. But what do we have? We have churches without backbones. We have churches not even opened. We have churches not worshiping. We have churches bending over backwards. Romans 13, Romans 13, Romans 13. But who are the people resolved to fight for what God has ordained and called them to do? To lead his people in worship, to lead his people in bringing the body of Christ together to proclaim the King. But we're letting the government be king, even in our republic. What does that say about us? What does that say about our pastors? We need men in the families to be men. We need pastors in the church to be pastors. And we need Christian leaders in government. And I feel that the consequences of not having it in any of those spheres in the majority, there's always a remnant, thank God. And the majority is why we are where we're at today. That's why our families are broken. That's why we send our kids to Caesar. That's why we do whatever the government says when in our church settings. That's why we let Marxism come and overflow our churches. That's why we let the government overreach the way it does. That's why we let government do the roles of all the other spheres of authority that God's given us. Now, it's up to us, the remnant, the people that are staying faithful, to continue to be faithful. Don't lose heart. Don't give up. Don't look at the worldly actions, the results. Don't look at those things and be discouraged, but look to God and remember He's in control. He's in power. He knows all things. He's in control. He holds us all in His hand. It's all part of His plan. And be encouraged by that. Be joyful in that. When the nations rage, God laughs. We should laugh too. Talk to you tomorrow. God bless.